Everyone, good morning. My name is Gabriel Matrovogi, and today I will be presenting about the health of the world's oceans. The research question I chose is to what extent have human actions negatively impacted the manatee population in past decades? And the argument I did is that creating laws and services to protect the Florida manatee from boat collisions, red tide, and being pushed out of a habitat will have a positive impact in the manatee population in upcoming years. So to begin with, let's talk about the West Indian manatee, which is a manatee that inhabits along the coast of Florida. It is omnivorous, it has no predators, and it can grow to be around 11 feet, and it can grow to be around 1,000 pounds. As you can see, it's a pretty big animal, and it prefers shallow and slow-moving waters. So the first problem is habitat loss, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services stated that during winter months, manatees gather in large numbers, sometimes exceeding 500, taking advantage of the warmer waters, crowding paddlers and snorkelers, taking the opportunity to get close to the manatees in the confined habitat of the springs, may unintentionally displace the manatees or otherwise affect their natural behaviors. So humans decide to get up close to the manatees since they want to take advantage of the time that they're able to see them, and this can misplace the manatee, but it is essential for the manatee to stay in those warmer waters during the winter months. That's why they migrate there. And when the people push them out, it can cause many of them to die off, and expansion along the waters can also cause them to get pushed out of their habitats or not be able to migrate to the warmer habitats. So this piece provided from one of the Stimulus Sources by Claire Brown stated that the oceans, which have long acted as buffers against the worst consequences of heat waves and carbon emissions, are in trouble. So many think that the rising water temperatures negatively impact all sea animals. However, the manatee isn't that much impacted by the rising water temperatures since they prefer to stay in warmer waters, and that's why they migrate there during winter months, and this won't be that much of a problem for them. The next big problem is boat collisions. This source by Stephanie Papa stated that the docile sea cows have no natural predators in the coastal U.S. habitat, but fast-moving speedboats and other watercraft are a danger, and she also stated that these animals' vision is bad. So there are no other animals that pose a threat to the mammal. However, the main threat that is posed to it is boat collisions, and since many of them have bad vision, they won't be able to detect where the boat is coming from, so they won't be able to move out of the way fast enough and will come in a collision. The last big problem is red tide, which is caused by dumping of chemicals into the ocean, which can cause the manatee to get sick, and it can also cause the food to get infected. And as you can see in this chart by Jocelyn Lopez, over 200 manatees died in 2018 just to red tide. And some of the solutions we can do is we can protect the manatee under Florida law, not allowing any human contact, so no humans will be able to harm them in any way, which will cause the population to go up. We can also close off the warm water springs during winter months, so that's where they prefer to inhabit during the winter months, and if no one goes and messes with them, they won't be pushed out of that habitat, so many of them will survive the winter months. And create areas where you can't have your boat propeller on. So many manatees die from boat crashes, and if you can't have your boat propeller on in shallow waters, which is where they prefer to inhabit, many of them won't get hit by boats. And the last solution is prevent dumping of chemicals into the ocean that cause algae blooms. So red tide and algae blooms are caused by dumping of chemicals, and if you prevent those chemicals, there will be no more red tide or algae blooms. And some of the limitations is that every warm water spring can't get closed off since many of them are tourist attractions and there's too many in Florida to close off. And it's hard to stop companies from dumping chemicals into the water since it's hard to detect where it's coming from and how much of it they're dumping in. Thank you.
All right, two questions for you. First up, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and then why not?
I had many pieces of evidence by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services that said they each had the same exact thing that talked about red tide and boat collisions, and I had just to pick the best piece of evidence.
And what advice would you have for someone who's doing this topic in the future?
Really research, take your time researching what you're going to research and know your topic, and really look into how red tide affects the manatee population.
All right, you're done.